be uncertain as to whether or not we're live. So it's not anything new to the audience of me to be talking like I am right now, making sure that we're on, because
Yeah.
I have some grasp of technology, but I struggle with other.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, because every time I'm on one of these things and then they stop and I don't realize it stopped, and then everyone's like, it stopped. I'm like, but this video is still going. So,
Yeah.
you know, so I'm like, you know, we'll do it live then.
We'll do it live. All right, we are live.
Okay, we'll do it live then.
We are live. Yeah, let's go.
I'm about to share.
I have some grasp of technology, but I struggle. Oh, I'm getting.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah.
Okay, there we go. We're here today with Mike Mastemalda Odom, who is a professor of Black Studies in the San Diego area. We're here today to talk about what's going on in the world and what's going on in the U.S. As it pertains to the COVID virus, as well as it's particularly the disproportionate effect we're seeing on Africans in the United States, and how lives are being lost, and how people are going through some hell. So let's just get right into it. What are the conditions our audience should be aware of that Africans are being disproportionately affected by this crisis?
It's a complicated issue because here in San Diego, as of Friday, no Africans have died from COVID-19. Then you got some cities where the rate is 70%, 100%. I think Michigan, blacks make up probably like 40% of the people died, but like less than 15% of the population. So I mean, but overall, I mean, the position is that Africans are disproportionately affected by the COVID-19 virus and crisis because of the fact that because of colonialism, right? So I know we'll get into it, but I'm a member of the Uhuru movement, a leader in what's called the organization in Odom, and what we say is the coronavirus is a colonial virus. I think that's crucial because too much of the conversation, if you tune into CNN, MSNBC, stuff like that, is going to be about the colonial virus. I mean, the colonial virus is killing black folks because black folks got bad diets or something like that. But if that was the over-determining factor, then you'd see the same numbers everywhere black folks live in the U.S. So I mean, and then where do those factors come from, right? Those factors come from the conditions that you force people to live under. But I know that, general liberals in the United States, they always want to make excuses for the structures of power and structures of colonialism by saying things like, can't we, can it be two things at the same time? Can't we sort of have two arguments and two arguments be true? They always want two arguments to be true. No, right? It's always colonialism, I mean, when we know that like white folks that live in the exact same cities as Africans that have the exact same culinary traditions as Africans in the South and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Then it, to me, it's something else. So I just wrote an article about this, and hopefully it'll be published soon. When it is, I'll share it on your page. It's called "Parasitic Capitalism is the Conspiracy," and in it, I knock out a whole bunch of different conspiracy theories that's floating around. But the biggest one, like I said, is the liberal one that in which people argue that pre-existing conditions is the reason why black folks are dying at a high rate. And I disagree with that. To me, it's the pre-existing condition is colonialism, is parasitic capitalism, which has placed a lower surplus value on African lives, especially in these post-industrial urban centers in the United States. So we can think about things. We think about the fact that Black folks make only about 12% of the essential workforce in the United States, but well over like about a third of the essential workers that are like in the line of fire. You know, they make up as much as a third of the transportation workers throughout the United States, a third of the people working in home health care, like a third of the people working as nurses, LVNs, lower level hospital staff, things like that, right? I mean, I know for ever since Jim Crow, becoming a nurse has been a popular occupation for African women in the United States and internationally. And when you think about a lot of the African women that are dying, it's been people who are nurses and things like that. So those are the conditions. I mean, of course, they say things like, hey, hold on one second, man. Hold on one second. But yeah, but yeah, I mean, very clear. They say things like, you know, hypertension or being diabetic or other things. But I mean, the age rate of people that are dying that are black are tend to be younger. You know, people with generally good healthcare, things like that, are dying from exposure and stuff like that. Clearly, Black folks own less cars. Black folks are more likely to take um, uh, uh, public transportation. The places where you see these high rates of death, the population density is twice that of like places like Los Angeles and California and San Diego. And if you live in the hood in Los Angeles or San Diego, you already feel like people living on top of you. But if you're living in Brooklyn, Detroit, places like that, and then when you think about the overall structure of segregation within the United States, you know, they saying social distancing, but don't nobody social distance better than rich white folks in America, you know. You know, shoot, it don't take nothing for them to roll up the window and lock the door. So I mean, you like I mean, but think about this literally, right? You know, so they get off work, they hop in their car, they go drive to where they live. You know, they got a drive-in garage, so they drive into their garage and then they go home, and they've got people doing work for them at work. You know, the amount of people that they've touched that have been in their faces been very small, right? So yeah, so I mean that's part of the thing too. You know, even when the city shut down, so many black folks are essential work. So many black folks have to travel. You know, I live in a diverse but cool part of San Diego, but there's still only two grocery stores in a place that has like probably about 20,000 people in Spring Valley, sort of a southeastern city in San Diego, near the Skyline region of Southeast San Diego. But you know, we only have two grocery stores out here. You know, and so if you live on the other end, which is ironically the more affluent end, you don't have a grocery store for at least 4 miles. But you know, not only wealthy people, not only upper middle class and middle class people live over there. So for the working class people who don't have cars, what are they going to do? I mean, they're going to catch a bus to the grocery store, catch an Uber, which is far too expensive, or they're going to eat at taco shops, you know what I mean, or something like that that are still open and just exposing themselves more, not from the food itself, say, but just for the people. So, yeah, I mean, those are the things that I would that I like the place to focus
So you,
on structural conditions.
so you mentioned within that description, you know, kind of this post-industrial world, And I think that there's something to be really explored there because so much of these places we're seeing these wide discrepancies are throughout the Midwest and places that might be called the Rust Belt, right? I mean, we see it like you mentioned Michigan, but like it's not just happening throughout the entire state of Michigan. It's happening in very particular places
Right.
where industry once thrived
Right.
and it no longer does. Many people left, mostly white people who stayed, often black, and these are the spots where we're seeing like a lot of death in the Midwest in this kind of post-industrial landscape. So I mean, there's kind of a couple things happening here. There's, you have the great migration, you have the migrations into like these urban centers, these industrial centers. And you have the deindustrialization, kind of the abandonment of industry. And now we're seeing the abandonment of the state or whatever you want to say it, as a whole. So can you speak a little bit to that? I mean, like how the perfect storm for these things to happen, or impact from horrible.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. I just wrote an article and in the article, or at least one of the edits of the article, I said that COVID-19 exposed the contradictions of African life in the post-industrial American Rust Belt. So I think that you're absolutely correct. I mean, hospitals. We know that working class people walk around longer with hospitals. Walk around longer, either the inaccessibility of the hospital, the fear of debt and things like that, the frequency to use what are those things, emergency rooms. That's what they call, right? Emergency room, like urgent care, emergency rooms and stuff like that, as primary care versus primary physicians and things like that. The whole Obama, you can call your doctor, and if you got a doctor you like, you can keep them, and all this other BS, that became, just the capitulations, constant capitulations of Obamacare. A lot of Africans don't have that. Physicians, even the public health clinics that people might go to were over inundated. For class reasons and things like that. I go to the local public health clinic, and I had a checkup, and it was like right when the stuff jumped off, like the 18th or something like that. And they did my appointment over the phone. And I was like, man, this is crazy, like they doing appointments over the phone, but they're still filled up. And I told them, last place I want to come, now the irony is that the last place you want to come is hospitals, and they're sending people home, to just be inside their houses. There's not enough ventilators in some of these places. There's not enough medicine for the ventilators, and things like that. So yeah, that is so you got the structural the structural reality. Shoot, I wish I had the numbers off top, but it's something to the extent of white families. Let me pull up the numbers right now. Because there's something like, I read an article and it says white people tend to think that like the wealth disparity between Africans and white North Americans is closer than it is, right? Even the liberals think that, okay, it's bad, but
it's like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1.
how bad? Yeah. They think it's normally 3-to-1, 2-to-1, or something like that. But if I'm correct, the white North American median wealth compared to black folks is so the black median wealth is $9.5 and $9,500, right? The white median wealth in the United States is $130,000. So I mean, I didn't put that in the article that I wrote, but that includes the rappers and the people with 40-foot jump shots, You know what I'm saying? People could dance real good and hit
Yeah.
real hard. So that's all those people included. That includes Oprah. You know what I mean? All those people included. African people, median wealth in the U.S. is $9,500. So I mean, you want to look at the disparity between this and then say it has something to do with black folks eating fried chicken or something like that. I mean, I lived in Texas, so you can't tell me who eat the most fried chicken. You know what I mean?
You know,
So like ribs and beer and all this other stuff. I mean, I've been to St. Louis. I've been to the Midwest. You telling me black folks the ones lying up at the rib shacks drinking craft beer and all that other stuff. So no, it's like I said, even it's a liberal thing. Even when the liberals think they're making a point, is that they're stuck with that analysis. That's why I tell you I don't care who you vote for. Like that's not really the debate I'm engaging, but the question is sort of like I know for a fact that the only system of analysis that can explain what's taking place is socialist analysis, and in my viewpoint, I feel it's proven that it's African nationalist analysis. But I don't want to get too much down.
Well, let's start getting into that. But before we get there, I just want to say that I lived in Texas for 2 years as well. Well, I lived in Texas for 2 years.
Oh yeah,
I lived in Dallas, and I saw what the melding of cultures produced, and it was Tex-Mex, and that was like, oh. So if you want to talk about what happened and the unhealthiness of like why is there barbecue sauce on this?
No, hey, that's what I'm saying. Is what's crazy? You know what's crazy is it wasn't until I really embraced Tex-Mex that I felt seen as an African person from Southern California, because so many of our parents and grandparents and stuff like that came from Texas. So I thought we was weird until wait. First off, you know that meme where it's got like it comes from Predator and it's got the fifth class. So I want to make one and it's going to say like black people and Mexican people, and then at the fifth class it's going to say putting hot sauce on popcorn. You know what I mean? or something like that. Because I saw it. I mean, I went down there and then or like putting ketchup on tacos or something. Because like it wasn't until I got to Texas that I realized, okay, so this is where we probably get the putting ketchup on tacos thing from. Because I remember when I came to San Diego, this wasn't like this wasn't like Tex-Mex style stuff. I mean, very seriously. I mean, if you look at the earliest restaurants in Compton and Long Beach and South Los Angeles that were Mexican food restaurants, they were people coming from El Paso and other parts of Texas and New Mexico and stuff like that. So when I went over there, but then you come to San Diego and you got all these people coming up from Baja and things like that. So I never heard of a shrimp taco till I got to San Diego. But then I remember I came out here and I was like, oh, so let me get a ground beef taco, with the fried shell and where's the ketchup? And they're looking at me like,
Taco Bell, man.
What the hell are you talking about? That is, I'm like, or like grilled, ground beef enchiladas with olives on top. I mean, it's, I mean, if you got to be from LA. See, San Diego people don't understand that, But I realize it's a Texas, New Mexico thing. And that's where we learned it from. So, but yeah, I mean, I lived in McAllen, Texas, in the Rio Grande Valley for 3 years. So I lived in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas for 3 years. I taught at South Texas College down there, and it was cool. It was cool. I even taught Mexican American history. So it's cool.
No, I'm definitely interested in talking to you about that and maybe a little more about some of the parallels. I mean, I want to keep focused today for our talk, but maybe another time we can talk about some of the parallels that we find in African and Rasa, some of the conditions that are shared. Maybe we get a little bit today, but we'd like to focus on this. But I want to get back on topic, but I do want to say
yeah. We'll get back on topic, but see, Danielle is feeling it. I see
I,
you feel
I,
Danielle. Danielle is like, okay, shoot. I see you feel seen too, Danielle. So
I'm gonna say one final thing, and this is probably a controversial statement, though. I'm just gonna say that they call it Tex-Mex. In New Mexico, they call it New Mexican food. In California, we call it Mexican food because it is Mexican food. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. I mean, without doubt, to me, it represents more regional
Yeah,
everything. People trying to make me act like burritos did not exist. I'm like, okay, so like the first 28 years of my life was a lie. When I moved to Texas, they're like, that's not a burrito. We don't have burritos down there. And then I go to a restaurant and I'm like, well, what's that? Oh, that's a sarape. I'm like, okay, I don't care how you fold it. Give me a big ass tortilla with some meat and stuff on the inside, and I don't care what you call it. Like I'll describe it to you. That's not nachos. That's a botana or something like that. I'm like, okay, cool. Like whatever you wanna. That's a chalupa. That's not a tostada. Okay, I don't. But no, it really is regional. Over there, the culture overall is heavily influenced by people migrating from really like cowboy type stuff. You know what I mean? Northern plains of Mexico and things like that. So it's whereas so it's very important. Right now I'm teaching politically. Get back on political track. I'm teaching a class, and we begin in Mexican American and Chicano history, but we're taking an internationalist perspective and looking at the solidarity between African and Mexican indigenous people in the struggle. So we begin with the point of colonization of the Americas and enslavement of African people. Then we move forward and we look at the maroon societies and all the way to the way in which the American war for the Mexican war for independence was a war against slavery and colonialism and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, you look anywhere from, like, the south side of Chicago to Navajo Nation, or to the way this is it's ravaging, farm workers in Immokalee. There's a history to all these discrepancies. I mean,
Exactly. So that's why we say it's the colonial virus, right? So when you see the people saying we want to open back up the cities and stuff like that, what they're really saying is, okay, it don't seem to be killing us. You know what I mean? Because in the places, so they shut down everything so quick once it was, because it began by killing the global elite. Because I didn't even know where Wuhan was until I heard of this virus. To be completely honest, and I got a PhD, so I'm pretty sure nobody else knew where Wuhan was. I mean, you can't. If you give me $100, I couldn't point out on the map. I sort of just make up some shit, So and we hold up Mao and everything, but I don't know where Wuhan was. I'm pretty sure it's just a place that was industrialized over the last 40 years to feed global capitalism, as a part of the neoliberal turnover in China. So I don't know about Wuhan, but I heard Tesla's over there, all this sort of cellular technology and stuff like that is over there, and things like that. So when they thought they was going to die, or by going to the basketball games or something, got shut down. But now, I mean, I really think that they're saying, okay, we don't really have a chance to die from this. I seen one sign says, "Oh, my children are homeschooled." You know what I mean? So we good. Once again, like I said, they're basically using the fact that they're basically saying we already social distance. We already have removed ourselves from the masses of colonized people in the U.S. So let's go back to normal so I can make some more money, or something like that. I mean, like you said, it's ripping through indigenous areas right now. Oddly enough, though, they said like North Dakota, South Dakota didn't have a death or something, but see, even when they say that, all that means is this just that there's more space between African indigenous people and indigenous, I'm including, Chicano people, Chicanx people, people of Central America, people of South America, and my understanding of indigeneity, so I'm not honoring borders, right? So when we talk about indigenous people, Asian people, African people, uh, uh, whenever they say the numbers aren't high, to me that just means that it hasn't hit us yet. But once it hits, it's going to spike. So, so my concern is that even with the liberal analysis, and everybody wants to pat Gavin Newsom on the back, the rubric that they're having towards reopening and flattening the curve isn't looking at the curve in the African indigenous communities. Is that's not being taken into concern, right? So the moment that they open back up, and these essential, quote unquote, other workers they want to call essential go back to work. My brother worked at a rib shack. And he's smart, so he's staying home. But the moment he goes back to work because Gavin Newsom told him he can go back to work or something like that, look, I'm pretty sure my union is going to say, hey, teachers ain't going back to school in the face of people until there's a vaccine or something, right? Yeah. So I'll be at home with my kids, but other people, my family, will be back at work, working for these other people, and could mess around and die or something like that. So that's sort of my concern.
So a lot of this analysis you're offering, you didn't come up with all this on your own, right?
No, I'll try to be smart, but no, heck no, I didn't come up with it on my own. Exactly. Are they even counting the tribes in North and South Dakota? That's exactly it, right? So, Danielle, right? So they saying, okay, no deaths in the Dakotas, but it's like, they probably mean no white settler deaths. I mean, and stuff like that. That's the thing, right? You got the whole our numbers are low phenomenon. But no one wants to be honest about the fact that they're probably just low. We already see the high numbers. Then we know the deaths that aren't being counted. And then if a death isn't counted, what happens is, because that death isn't counted, there's no urgency for the people around them to get tested. So there could be an outbreak and people are dying, but people aren't getting tested. So it's a whole I don't want to cuss, but it's a shit show,
Yeah.
Because like I said, if and they say 30% of the tests can be false negatives, another 30% can be false positives. So it's like Africans are really exposed. I mean, I was thinking about this. I said Western science and Western medicine could send humans to the moon, can turn computers into telephones and stuff like that, but the best they got for us with this is don't touch your face. I'm like, come on, man, that's some bullshit. That's not science. Don't touch your face. I mean, you better off trying to tell somebody to take their tongue and try to touch the tip of their nose, than to don't touch your face as a medical science. I mean, I try to do that and my face start itching and I'm sitting there, my face is burning and my hands are down and I'm doing all this stuff. It's like this isn't science, man. If this is what you got to offer people, meanwhile China and the U.S. giving out masks. You know what I'm saying? Not the U.S., China and Cuba giving out masks to people. And we telling people to don't touch your face or walk around like you gangbanging or something. Yeah. My wife walked out the house with a blue bandana around her face, and we live near Skyline in San Diego. I was like, no, don't do it, baby. Just stay inside. Then she had this other thing with like Bob Marley. I said, yeah, put the Bob Marley one around your face. They love Bob in San Diego, but don't put that blue rag around your face. And the truth is that I seen a guy do a test. They telling people to make the bandanas and stuff, but that's almost just psychological. You feel good, you feel like you're safe, but I seen somebody do the test of the N95
Oh,
mask versus other stuff, and it's like if
yeah.
a person really was coughing, on you, the bandana's not really working per se. It's
Yeah.
so yeah.
What I wanted to say was, this is a great conversation. And actually, yesterday I had the poet laureate of McAllen, Texas, who I think is messaging right now about talking about Tex-Mex or something. I'm not sure, but
Who's from McAllen? So Danielle is from McAllen.
McAllen, yeah. But yesterday I actually interviewed the poet
Oh, for
laureate.
real? Oh, Danielle, you from McAllen? Okay,
Yeah.
yes. So I used to live off of Nolana and Ware, right down the street from that Target. Let them know that I lived on Nightshade Street.
Yeah.
Nightshade.
Right, well, you can hear. So,
Yeah. Gloria Anzadu is from the Valley. Yeah, but sorry,
yeah.
go for it.
Oh yeah. So there was a couple of things I wanted to touch on, but I wanted to get into just talking about the importance, generally speaking, of joining a political organization to help sharpen your analysis and also,
yes,
throw your energy towards something and get into that. But before we get into that, it is interesting that the contrasting, the United States of America, which is the wealthiest nation on earth because of imperialism, right?
Right.
It has the most commodities per capita or something like that, if we're going to define wealth that way, is a situation where we don't have a supply of these vital items in a time of pandemic, right? Because everything's produced to be sold. Whereas Cuba can do certain things, whereas China, even with a neoliberal turn, can still do certain things, right? In the United States of America, don't touch your face.
Right. Like party capitalist government, but they still have, I've noticed, a sort of communist structure which shields certain people at least at the bottom of society, right? So it's like it's like they've opened up the roof, but they haven't sort of let the floor drop out on their people, and I think that's what people have to, even when we're given progressive socialist communist analysis of them, because so when I teach them at the UCSD, it's a rich kid can come because his parents are extremely wealthy and they're working for some American corporation, but a poor kid can come too. You know what I mean? And he's going to go back. He's going to work for the state or something. And the deep irony is that it's only the poor people who actually remember Mao. So it's like so we be in class talking about Mao, and the only people that know Mao is the kids from Taiwan, the working class kids from mainland China, and the African people in class. So the working class Chinese people and the African people, man, we we get down. We get down. So yeah, okay. So yeah, raised in Mission. You know who's from Mission, Texas? Is what's his name? That was the darn the coach Landry. Tom Landry is from Mission, Texas. The Rio Grande Valley is a trip, man. It's a trip. It's like it really is. It's like it's one thing that like really lets you know that class is real essential to the understanding. So he lived in a place called Mission, which is a real, like you would consider, say, Mission, McAllen, kind of like the same sort of area per se, but Mission as well as Hidalgo to the south of McAllen, and Far and stuff like that, Wesco to the east, is extremely a working class and stuff like that. So I mean, I like to say that, like, I went to Texas as a liberal and I left a socialist, right? So like that's the or at least sort of democratic socialist or something. I was like a Michael Moore liberal when I went there, right? And I left a socialist because of the contradictions, right, of life and the way in which my consciousness was raised while living out there and struggling in Texas and things like that. So yeah. I forget what
is the importance of political organization and helping us sharpen our analysis and also giving us a place to put our energy.
Oh yeah, so the political organization is crucial, right? I mean, we see the concern over collective action, self-reliance, things like that, from the mutual aid groups being formed right now to rappers and athletes and things like that going online and telling people that uh, we all we got and stuff like that. Um, uh, uh, those are that is central to what's going on, all the way to the DJ parties, right? So we know that there's a yearn for self-reliance and self-determination, but people have to get politically organized if it's going to move from a sort of survivalism or say cultural collectivity and things like that to a real political organization getting our demands met. I mean, it's interesting to see times of political crisis calls for rapid uh, acceleration, of these conditions and things like that, and political activism. I mean, two things I'll say, and we'll talk about the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, of which I'm a part of the executive committee. But two things I've noticed, right? Our membership has grown during this moment, even as we're not doing face-to-face outreach. Our membership has grown, and it's two things. It's sort of the young people realizing the contradictions that I realized when I was around their age with the Democratic Party, especially since they were for Bernie, right? This got this bullshit sort of putting black against brown. And I'm from Long Beach, so I try not to play the whole black against brown thing because I see where it really goes, But a lot of the petty bourgeois types that aren't from South Los Angeles, Compton, Watts, Long Beach, they don't have to deal with this, right? So like they fighting for just some what Eldridge Cleaver called dirty dollars from the Democratic Party, and they want to play in this whole sort of like black vote, Latino vote. Well, I mean, look, voting for the Democrats is not uhuru, right? It's not freedom.
I know.
But I mean, but if we want to talk about it, right? Africans and Latinx people have the same contradictions, right? When you look at Latinx youth, they vote at the same rate for Bernie as black youth, right? When you look at Latinx elders, they vote at the same rate as black elders. It's just they voted at different amounts, right? So they say Latino vote for Bernie, black vote for Biden, and all this other nonsense, trying to push people against each other. But so what happens is the youth realize, hey, here's the one thing that we thought sort of was going to be some sort of compromise we can make that could improve our material conditions, and they saw themselves get screwed. They saw sort of petty bourgeois race politics come in with the little race hustlers. People, you ain't seen Jim Clyburn ass for a month now, over a month. I ain't seen his ass for 6 weeks, but for that week before the South Carolina primary, his ass was on TV left and right talking about, with this old crooked ass smirk on his face, like, like he run the Black Tammany Hall or something like that, like basically like we got it rigged, voter ID laws, all sorts of stuff turning young people away.
Right.
States where, like, man, if you live in Texas, bro, the state elections would be one place, and the federal elections be another place. You got to drive around. The bus system in McAllen was terrible. So if you don't actually have a car and you live in the Rio Grande Valley and you want to vote in state elections and federal elections, they might be in two different places. And I swear to God, I'm no lie, right? I had to vote back in 2008, 2010. One place was all the way over in at this middle school. Then I had to drive to some other place and vote somewhere else. Luckily, so I ain't even gonna say what I was really doing. So, yeah.
Why, it's so fascinating though, looking at like
So political organization. So the thing is that we getting this windfall of membership because of the fact that we got in this windfall of membership because of the fact that, like, people are rising up to the to understanding the contradictions. The conditions are sort of are pushing people towards political life, people whom I wouldn't have expected, right? Because I think it's conditions like this that sort of is allowing for people to understand the way through which all colonized people, all people of African, Mexican, indigenous heritage are oppressed. Um, uh, 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 we either got the deal of being overworked and underpaid, or overworked and you know what I'm saying. So there's so many contradictions. So people have to become politically organized, and that's it. Sort of organizations. What I would say that sort of get you developed locally, but also help you have a broader analysis that allows you to connect your culture or your perspective to other places, because it's so crucial right now. It's so crucial right now for us to be able to have these conversations, so that people don't put so people don't put together bad analysis, because this terrible analysis going on over the China thing in Africa right now. You got sort of petty bourgeois merchants crapping on African workers in China. You got neo-colonial leaders crapping on Chinese workers in Africa, and on both sides, people are like fanning the flames and applauding it. You got Africans in the U.S., like I said the other day, determining their analysis of Chinese geopolitics by their relationship with Korean and Vietnamese merchants in the United States. It's like that's not analysis. You know what I'm saying? That's just you leading with your own emotions, and at the very worst, that's just Orientalism. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like, I mean, there's a way to explain what's going on there, but once again, it always points back towards Western imperialism. Look at the sites that even talk about all the stuff in China. Every single time I read an article being shared about the problem of China in Africa, it's by Forbes, it's by Fortune, it's by Washington Times, which you might as well wipe your ass with the Washington Times. I mean, wasn't that started by the dude like the Moonies or something like that? Like some real crazy people. So yeah. So that's the problem that I see. So people need to be politically organized, with boots on the ground, with the ability to have analysis. And I mean, I would ask people that's African out there that want to get involved to go to npdum.org, INPDUM.org, and become a member of the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement. Chicanx people, I will, Chicanx people, Mexican indigenous people can join NPDUM, but also I'd say go to uniondelbarrio.org and look into Union, a revolutionary nationalist Mexican organization here based in San Diego, but they are national and stuff like that. So I would say, get organized, get organized. I mean, organize. I mean, that's the lesson that Kwame Ture put forward, right? If you're a person who really care about something, and you can't find other people whom you could work with, either as an official member or as a volunteer or something like that, then you fall in prey to the problems. One last thing I'll say about conditions is that the U.S. Everyone's having real problems, even like the progressive people, even people who are against, say, Trump and know that this is nonsense. They having trouble with their analysis right now because for 70 years, the dominant hegemony here has been the dominant hegemony here. Yeah, Danielle, like I got family from Panama, Danielle. So yeah, we can talk about that later too. the dominant hegemony has been individualism, right? So it was, we so even within the liberal conservative hegemon of the United States, they haven't really been asked to sacrifice. The only people that's really been asked to sacrifice is African people and Mexican indigenous people within the United States, but 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 yeah, so they don't know what to do. I teach about World War II. Like I said, even from the state level, people who lived in World War II, they remember rationings and curfews and stuff like that. I mean, so even amongst the mainstream Americans, they don't know how to get organized. So for us, you see people saying, fuck the government. We're gonna throw this barbecue. Ain't nobody gonna stop me from having this birthday party. We're gonna have this birthday party for Pop Pop. And Big Mama. So, but no, right? Ain't nobody stop us from having this birthday party. Or that's some white stuff. They said it's 5G anyway, and I got an Obama phone, so I'm good. That sort of misinformation going on. So to where almost like people are, I don't want to offend anybody, but the best resistance they can imagine is sort of like libertarian and anarchical. You know what I mean? So it's like we're gonna do our own thing. Can't nothing kill Black joy or something like that. We're gonna have a party or something like that. And things like that. So this is really time for people to get politically organized and politically informed.
Yeah, no, I mean it's good advice for anyone anywhere to organize your life around science. I mean, like, don't put your hand on the stove. You're gonna break your hand. That's organizing around science. Don't stick a fork in the outlet. That's organizing your life around science. So just
right, exactly.
Extend it, like
question, because all science means is sort of like coming to answers through some form of trial and error. Yeah. So I mean, if you curandero, and over the last 500, 600, 700 years of your tradition, you know things that are good, things that don't work, and you don't use it. If something don't work, you don't use it anymore. If something that works, you use it again. Then yeah, that's science. You know what I mean? That's a scientific method. But you got to approach this with science and scientific analysis, which is my thing. It can't be a subjective idealism. Shoot. Even I talked to my mom, and my mama was like, we praying that God guides the hands of these doctors. You know what I mean? So so you're telling me even like evangelical Christians are like, look, science, we going with you right now. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, I got to talk to somebody else who called themselves a Black Power advocate, and they talking about, all you need is a certain level of like battery acid in your water or something like that. And I mean alkaline. It's not really battery acid, right? but that's what they talking about. It's like that's idealism. We got to deal with science right now. I mean, there's things you could do to boost your immunity, stuff like that.
I've been drinking a lot of vitamin C because I heard that's something they're doing. But
right, vitamin C, elderberry. So we've been doing that. This is even tea, right? I've been laying off of the coffee. I don't drink and things like that. Just whatever you can do to boost your immune system. That's what's going to help you survive this if you get it. But once again, it goes back to those material conditions. If you drive Uber and you work as a stocking clerk, and you work as a stockroom clerk, then you work an average of 12 to 16 hours a day, you're going to be tired.
Yeah.
Right. So if you catch something, anybody know you catch a sickness when you're tired, it's going to run through you. So I mean, that's the other thing about the spring season. The spring season has the least holidays, right? The least days off of work. And then it's also the time in which you got the flu season. So there's all these material conditions. Yeah, we could talk about.
Right. So one thing I was wanting to get back to though was you were talking about building up of Impedum, building up of UDB, and just building these organizations. And I think that scientifically it makes trial and error. I mean, you cannot. The Democratic Party itself serves as a loyal opposition to the Republicans, but even within the Democratic Party, the left wing of the so-called left wing of the Democratic Party serves as loyal opposition to the Democratic Party within the Democratic Party, right? So we see Bernie Sanders immediately rushed to endorse Joe Biden, right?
Right.
And now it's gone on the bully pulpit against his own supporters, his own followers, saying that if they don't get in line, that they're the ones that are ushering in Trump, right? So using the exact same talking points as Joe Biden or as Biden's supporters upon Sanders supporters by Bernie Sanders himself. So we see that the Democrats, they serve as a loyal opposition to the Republicans, but within the Democratic Party, the left wing of the Democratic Party serves them. So there's just no hope in trying to pour your time and energy and analysis within the Democratic Party. You got to build outside it. I mean, would you share this?
I mean, even arguing with people online is not worth it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't do anything for me anymore. I refuse to engage it. Yeah, I mean, you got to organize. But what I realize is the places where it's very, very strong. You know what I mean? I realize some people, especially like petty bourgeois, quote unquote, middle class types of people that's African, Mexican, or whatever in the U.S. I think they really look at the Democratic Party as if the Democratic Party is a grassroots political affiliation. They be riding for it. They ride for it more than Obama ride for it. People dying left and right, and his ass ain't said shit until this week. So they be riding. He ain't no Democrat anyway. A real what's a real Democrat? So then they got the party culture. I've noticed that their party culture is it's the same party culture that had white primaries in the 1940s and before that. They just do that now for black people in the South to win, or for Mexican people to win in Texas, right? So there's a way through which the hegemony of the way in which the party function has never shifted. It's just sort of they're just using it for their own gain or something like that. But yeah, people gotta move beyond it. And the other thing is like people try to make it seem as if they want you to get involved in this in some form of radical some pragmatism or something like that. But just the pragmatism is gone. I don't see how pragmatically a person can suggest engage in anything beyond circling something on a bubble into building up the Democratic Party. It's just. I mean, it's really a waste of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, remember Beto get up there. He he's sound real cool because he said he's gonna take away people's guns because that's what the people on Twitter want to hear. You know what I mean? That's not even a material struggle I'm trying to wage right now. A discussion over Second Amendment rights. I'm black, but I believe in Second Amendment rights. You don't have rights. Those rights weren't made for you either. You know what I mean? When black people got guns, conservatives passed law so people can't have guns no more. You know what I mean? So it's just
so Danielle earlier asked about, I think it segues into it, what about these anti-vaxxers? Where is this all coming from? And I think that that's a good conversation to have. I mean, like I understand, like it's very easy to look at the anti-vaxxers and this kind of like libertarian strain and see like how it plays out, amongst white people. That's easy, right? But like
you got people of color that or I hate that term. You got colonized people that are really anti-vaxxers. I mean, I know someone that was like, I ain't no vaccine. It's like, look. Well, if you go to the burningspear.com. So that's the newspaper for the Uhuru movement. Theburningspear.com. Let me write that in. Okay. I don't even know if I can comment, but go to go to theburningspear.com and you'll get our position on it. So the position is no to colonial vaccination. I mean, I think the science is out there on vaccines. I mean, uh, 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 coronavirus isn't caused by 5G. Vaccines don't cause autism.
Right.
But the thing is, there's a subjective level through a cunningly subjective level through which these conversations about vaccines are had, to where people say, well, that might be true, Michael, but I'm gonna hold off anyway, just to be safe. Right. So it's like, no, you're not being safe. But the problem is colonial vaccination, because people don't trust the government, right? So they need. This is why you got to be politically organized, and that's why we need self determination. That's why we need revolutionary people to be in charge of science, because as one person said, look, if Cuba created a vaccine, she'd take the vaccine tomorrow. So it's not that she's anti-science, she's anti-colonialism, and she doesn't believe in the anti-life agenda that colonizers have going on. So to me, that's the more scientific position. But the problem is, much of the whole anti-vaccine culture originates from the libertarian right, and the sort of black helicopter conspiracy crowd on the right. But because it's exposing the contradictions of liberal government, it becomes attractive to people, especially people coming into consciousness. When I was a kid, everybody read, Behold the White Horse. And then I found out, I thought it was a brother, talking, and then come to find out it was some crazy ass white dude from New Mexico or something like that, who wrote that book. And he wasn't a revolutionary. But the thing is, I think in the book, he talked about the crack epidemic or something, how the government sort of put crack in the ghetto or something like that. And people read that part, but like they didn't read the part about where he like basically says that like then there's going to be a race war because of it. You know what I mean? So it's like yeah. So that's the thing about the anti-vaxxers. It's prominent in the communities of colonized people in the U.S. and outside because vaccines are run by colonial. Medicine is run by colonial forces, and because of the history of medical apartheid and stuff like that. But you know what? There's a guy. But there's evidence. So it's different ways, right? You got people concerned. Okay, the vaccines, this, but then there's evidence of UN and NATO forces in Africa during the Ebola virus telling people that the military forces telling people that vaccines are generally ineffective. So they're in places telling people that vaccines are ineffective, while at the same time telling their own people to take vaccines before they travel overseas.
Right.
So to me, um, uh, uh, um, so to me, it's not the question about whether vaccines work; it's about who administers the vaccines and stuff. And then there's a capitalist culture, right? You go in, hey man, my knee hurt, and they're like, did you get the chickenpox vaccine? Did you get this vaccine? Did you get that vaccine? Get that vaccine? And I'm like, damn man, I came in because my knee hurt. Like, why are you trying to push these vaccines on me? They say, oh, sure, I'll take a shot. And they're like, okay, well, that's like this, but you only got to pay $5 because it's a copay. But then you realize, okay, they didn't build my darn thing for $400 or something like that. My insurance company for $400 off of all these vaccines they gave me today. So but this is why, look, that's why my article is parasitic capitalism is the conspiracy. No one's suggesting that because your conspiracy theory is wrong, that there is not a plan to govern, but it's been public. It's every single morning they wake up and the people who run society wake up and go trade your stocks. They get themselves elected. They pat each other on the back and stuff like that. That's why we have to have that sort of analysis. But when you have a revolutionary analysis, it sort of it asks you to do something to overturn the contradictions. Conspiracy theories being floated around, they don't, right? Except to just be woke or do the very minimal, or even worse, to support another person with your money. But that's the problem.
Well, I think that the Tuskegee, Zyklon B on the border, spraying people with DDT, and of course, the Native Americans with smallpox blankets, and these are all very egregious things that are kind of in the public mind, right? So, it makes a lot of sense why you wouldn't trust the government medically, right? But as you say, that's not the same as saying the medicine doesn't work. But I think that when it comes to this anti-vax stuff, you're not just looking at one individual conspiracy. It's like it usually comes packaged with a conspiracy buffet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so the conspiracy buffet ideology, what I notice the most is that when it's practiced outside of just kind of the white libertarian core,
and it ain't not Americans love more than buffets.
when it's practiced by other people, colonized people, it usually has some kind of defense of the family. It usually has some type of masculinity, and that is something of an issue also unto itself that really I think needs to be addressed within, like, why are people like so quick to believe that there's this grand conspiracy against the men being men or this or that. That's something that like is kind of internal. That's something that has to be like, and because you want men to be men, you're gonna go out and cough on each other and die. You know what I mean? Like, so, there's a kind of
No, that's, I seen somebody circulating the Tuskegee experiment, about why you shouldn't get vaccines. Well, they lined up to get vaccines and they gave them syphilis, and it's like, that's not how it worked. Look, because I want you to know the truth about the damn Tuskegee experiment, you acting like I'm with the man. It's like, that's just not how it worked. The people went in for treatment and they either weren't told they had syphilis or they weren't told that there was a cure for syphilis. So the treatment that was withheld to them was penicillin. Penicillin is an antibiotic. Antibiotics are not vaccines. Antibiotics, kill bacteria and antibodies, but that's not how viruses work. Viruses can't be killed by antibiotics. That's why, the other thing was like, don't take penicillin, don't take amoxicillin. It makes it worse or something. I don't know if it makes it worse. Once again, it's still up in the air. But what we do know is it basically like kills damn near everything in your system. So if you got something good in your system, that's fighting against the bad things in your system. But that might be the issue. But nevertheless, we have to study the history correctly. Like, there's a history of medical abuse and medical apartheid, which has caused distrust of people of colonial medicine.
Yeah.
So it's very sensitive, but I think that sort of being socialists will require us to be truthful to the people. Yeah. And not just play to the crowd. Like, that's the difference between what we call African internationalism and say what. Hold on 1 second, please.
Sure. So the audience will know I've been touching my face. I just put this stuff on Purell. I don't know what this is, but some Purell knockoff to clean my hands. So I'm being socially responsible and not making a bad example for everyone watching right now. So,
but yeah, go for it.
Don't say anything on my feed or inbox me about how I've been touching my face. You saw me just put the stuff in my hands. So,
but you're not outside. You can touch your face all you want inside your house. Like, you inside your house, you touch your face like I said, that's not the sign. What, I can't touch my face inside my house? Like, I can't touch my face inside my house. Like, what are you going to sit 6 feet apart from somebody on your couch inside your house?
Keep your hands apart from your face.
Yeah, that's exactly, because I've seen people say, he said don't touch your face, and he's touching his face. Like, it ain't like I'm a open. It ain't like I'm at one of these downtown rallies touching my face. You know, it's at my house touching my face. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
people do a whole lot of stuff at their house that is none of your business. So,
and not for public consumption.
exactly. Touching my face is the least of your words at my house.
All right, so how did you go from becoming a liberal to, okay, well, wait, before we do that, what is the distinction between Pan-Africanism and African internationalism?
All right, so African internationalism is a historical materialist, dialectical materialist, socialist theory of the African working class, right? It believes in the unification of African people. It believes in the unification of all working class people globally. Like I said, it's a sort of dialectical materialist analysis. At best, Pan Africanism, by definition, right, is about the unity of African people. It's largely a cultural ideology without it baked, but baked into Pan Africanism is not, say, a theory of explanation of the world at a material level in the place of African people in it. So that's the difference between Pan Africanism and African internationalism. Now, you've got people who probably come close to it, like Walter Rodney and others, who you'd understand as Pan African socialists or Pan African Marxists and all this other stuff. But African internationalism is a tried and tested theory that's developed over the last 50 years, 45 plus years of African liberation. So that's really the difference. It's a very material difference. You can go to Burning Spear. You can get you can read an article. I think it's called like Pan Africanism versus African internationalism or something like that. Yeah. So that's the difference with African internationalism, and I think one of the questions you're going to ask is like, my road to African internationalism. Yeah. Probably about 5 years ago, I would have referred to myself as a Pan-African socialist or something like that, but or Pan-African Marxist or something. But yeah, what I found, Pan-Africanism, African internationalism, by way of sort of first off studying the larger body of Black internationalist politics, which is a lot more generalizing academic term. It's not necessarily a political organizational term. Well, the term Black internationalism was created by the Revolutionary Action Movement, RAM, in the 1960s. And basically, in a position letter they put out, they basically argued that that what we understand as Black nationalism really isn't a nationalism at all. It's actually an internationalism and things like that. So Black internationalism and what was central to at least their argument in the 1970s and 1960s was really a unification of Black nationalist thought and socialist thought, right? But Chairman Omali Yeshitela, chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, created the theory of African internationalism. Like I said, none of those other things had ever been sort of theorized, tested, placed into political practice and stuff like that. But Chairman Omali Yeshitela crafted the idea of African internationalism years ago, crafted it, right? So it's through study and political practice that I came towards African internationalism. And so even when I was in other organizations, I identified myself as an African internationalist. But central to African internationalism is self-reliance, self-determination of African people, organized in African organization. So that's what I felt necessitated. So I had been a sustaining member of Impedum, which basically just means that like I had paid money before to support it, but I'd never really been an organizing member. But last year, I started to organize as a member of Impedum, not just a community person in support of Impedum. And from there, I moved to international leadership in Impedum, the International People's Democratic Uhuru Movement, inpdum.org. And then earlier this year, I joined the African People's Socialist Party. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great story. I'm going to drop all the links so people can have a way to connect to everything we've been discussing today. I would be remiss, oftentimes I do these things and I pretend like I'm just somebody that doesn't know anything, I'm just asking questions, and I don't know anybody, right? But I would be remiss by people who know me by my name, who I've been to their house and watched, sporting events and stuff. If I didn't ask you about the connection between Impedum and the Uhuru movement in general and Union del Barrio, and how deep those ties go, because they would, people who know me would be mad.
I mean, like I said, when you look at the connections between Impedum, the Uhuru movement, African People's Socialist Party, and a group like Union del Barrio, the Chicano Mexicano prison project, stuff like that. That really is central to the internationalist understanding of struggle, which separates internationalism from really race nationalism, right? Because the race nationalists say things like, "Well, I'm not saying that we shouldn't be down with blacks, or I'm not saying that we shouldn't be down with Mexicans, but we got to focus on our own stuff first, right?" So I'm pretty sure you've heard that, right? People who, I've seen the conversations on your page where, like, someone will say that they're down, but then they'll start talking all this and generalizations about Africans or about Mexicans and stuff like that. But central to African internationalism is a couple things, right? No borders, right? We don't believe in colonial borders. So all African people are African. There's no African Americans. There's no Nigerians. There's no Trinidadians. Those are false political borders. All African people are Africans. And with the material basis of the world, that's how we understand solidarity through materialist struggle. So the materialist struggle that we're fighting for, so it doesn't have to be this silly ass debate about if black people are aboriginal to the U.S. or something like that, or who came before Columbus and stuff. I mean, that stuff is crucial. Look, if you're teaching your kids that stuff is cool. But if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your late 20s, hopefully you have sort of understood that African and indigenous people had civilization that was above European civilization before the point of colonialism. But now we got to wrestle materially with the last 500 to 600 years of world history, in which sort of the growth of imperialism spurred the oppression of indigenous and colonized people around the U.S. So I'm sorry, around the world. So yeah. So the African People's Socialist Party began in 1972. Before that, there was a couple of different organizations. The leading organization was a group called the Junta of Militant Organizations. That's where the chairman Omali Esfatella was the leader of. And then in 1972, they merged with some other organizations, became the African People's Socialist Party. There's a lot of different organizations that sort of had failed underneath them at that time. Yeah, it was called the African National Reparations Organization, which really made reparations a household name in Black political struggle. It added an actual political organization to the call for reparations, unlike had been done before. The African National Prison Organization, which had organized people that were incarcerated and people that weren't incarcerated in the struggle to overturn things. In 1976, the chairman and the party organized a white solidarity movement called the African People's Solidarity Committee, which is an organization of white North Americans in solidarity with African liberation. As an organization and as members, they pay reparations to build up the African nation. They are. I mean, it's if I've come to really understand them as the bravest group of white North Americans, because having been a part of other socialist formations and things like that. I mean, these are all good people and stuff like that, but like they still have, just like race nationalists have a reductive analysis of race and stuff like that, which oftentimes end up with the African working class at the beck and call of African petty bourgeois forces, and stuff like that. The sort of reductive sort of socialist analysis always ends up having African people submitted to a white socialist, and because they're better than the liberals or better than the conservatives, it's tolerated. But instead, sort of, who you gonna trust to put out the fire? A person who sort of is looking at the fire and giving you the analysis, but haven't really lived through it, or the people who whom are in the fire burning. The African people, indigenous people of the world, are the people in the middle of the struggle. We're the working class. We're the people on which the even the wealth of the white working class was built. We already looked at those numbers, right? 130,000 for white North Americans, and $9,500 of wealth for Black North Americans. You have to be a Black person with a college degree, actually a postgraduate college degree, to finally move beyond the wealth that a white person who graduates from high school has in the United States. African women and Mexican women in the U.S. Make less than a white man who dropped out of high school. So this is the situation we're talking about. I mean, the African and Mexican women make probably an average of 60 cents on the dollar that a white man makes. The white women, whenever they say that 77 cents of a dollar a woman, they throwing Black and brown women into the white women category. They don't want to tell you the white women make well over 80 cents, right? So is that good? No, right? Everyone should be equal. But if a white man is making the dollar and a Black woman is making 85 cents, a white woman is making 85 cents, and a Black woman is raising her kids on her own with 60 cents, that means that a white family got 3 times the income of a Black woman, right? But the important thing too is that Black men and brown men only make about 1 to 2 cents on the dollar above. So the thing is, this lets us know that like this analysis that people are working through, it's not going to get Black people free. It might position some people, maybe middle class people that are African or Mexican, indigenous, a little bit better in the system, but it's a burning house, right? It might position them a little bit better in this burning house, but I mean, people make these analyses of gender and stuff like that, which have Black people, Black men in the same category as white men. Like, it don't even make any sense. And then it has Black women in the same category. So African internationalism doesn't do that. African internationalism believes there's no group of people more oppressed than Black and indigenous women. We know that for a fact. My organization is overwhelmingly led by African women, but we know that we need the unity of African people and the unity of the African working class, and that's not going to be done by Elizabeth Warren politics or some nonsense like that.
No, definitely not. Yeah, I just think that no, you said what needed to be said on that. So what's the next step? What should people watching this do? What if you're there, if there's something wrong?
Okay. So African People's Socialist Party.
Yeah.
1991 African People's Socialist Party, I think I said it earlier, created Impedum. Impedum is the mass organization of the Uhuru movement, open to membership of African people and colonized people. If you're white and you want to support Impedum, I would say go and become a sustaining member of Impedum, but go and also join what's called Uhuru Solidarity Movement, USM. So that's the mass organization underneath the leadership of the African People's Solidarity Committee. So that's going to be the organization for white North Americans and stuff like that. Like in solidarity, and it's like it's very hard, for white North Americans to follow leadership and take orders from even the radical ones. I mean, it's very hard, so to have that level of political discipline is crucial. And the other thing is sort of like you got to show material support because you beyond liking a post or saying Black Lives Matter or something like that. But we also say Black lives won't matter until Black power matters. So I would say that those people should go and join, because support, give a donation to Impedum. But if you want to organize within the movement, organize as a part of Uhuru Solidarity, and that separates African internationalism, right? And like I said, it's a theory that explains the world and our position in it. It's not race nationalism, right? To understand a sort of division of labor is not oppressive, especially when we're talking about 600 years through which white Europeans have been able to run everything.
So I think yeah, I mean, definitely, I completely agree with you about something you said earlier. I wanted to touch on that, as
Okay.
when you deal with in these larger socialist organizations, wherein there's the idea that we need to move beyond, the way they frame it, we need to move beyond racism into class consciousness, right?
Right. Because racial consciousness, they say, is a form of what they call it, false consciousness.
Yeah, it was false consciousness, petty bourgeois, et cetera, et cetera. And when they do that, what often ends up happening is you just end up, it's deeply ahistorical is what it is. I mean, there's reasons why it's so offensive and you get mad and angry, but just intellectually, it's very ahistorical because you're talking about this idea of like a class that's just kind of floating in space, the proletariat on the moon or something like that. Like, why are Europeans in North
space? That was on the WB, right?
Proletarians on the moon, yeah. Like, why the working class on the moon, right? Why are Europeans here? Why is it that the native community has been slaughtered? Why is it that all these things that are not simply they're definitely not cultural questions. All these things are not just simply the historical questions. These are economic. These are political. This is like the position of peoples is economic and political. That has to be pushed away because it's quote unquote divisive, and it's
right. That's divisive. But I mean, what's more divisive than division is going to happen. I mean, capitalism has divided people. What's more divisive than suggesting that there might be an international struggle through which some people will die? But it's like so y'all cool with saying that, but y'all not cool with saying that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, national distinctions matter. Well, the one thing I like to say is that, like, if I like to believe that if Marx, Engels, Lenin were alive right now, they would unite with African internationalism. So there's the possessive Marxist ideas that I separate in my own analysis from Marxist ideas, right? I think Marx's primary concern was with organizing white industrial workers in Europe, largely England, right? But the contradiction is that those people were being exploited because they were working on top of the exploitation they were working on top of the exploitation of African and indigenous people. I mean, Marx talks about it in Capital, right? Where he talks about Africa being turned into a game reserve for the hunting of black hides. So we know that he understood this stuff. But the problem is that, and this is what the chairman shows, and this is what also, this is what the chairman shows, is that, like, Marx was the product of bourgeois European society. So he was trying to produce an ideology to change the world, but it can't come from him. Engels' dad owned sweatshops,
Yeah.
and the dough that Engels got from that, he was throwing into the struggle. But that's clearly a contradiction that doesn't that doesn't allow for you to be the leader in revolutionary struggle. If anything, that means that you should sort of be supportive and follow the leadership of the masses. So Marx talks about the sort of the sort of, for lack of a better term, necessary evil of primitive accumulation, because it sort of produced industrialization and the working class, and from that, the working class is going to overthrow capitalism in the struggle and stuff like that. But the chairman Omali Estella makes it plain: Africans are primitive accumulation, right? The colonized people of the world are political accumulation. In an essay I wrote for another book called Black August, and following off of the words of the chairman, I make the point that when we look at the end of the Civil War, the top capital, the number one capital produced from the Civil War was African lives, right? There was nothing that was more profitable. I mean, I've done the number. There's 4 million people, right? 4 million people that were enslaved. Even if you say that the average of them is worth $500, right? And we know that it's probably more than that, but $500, 1860 money, right? $500, 1860 money. Back then alone, just then, would have been $2 billion, right? So $2 billion. Nowadays, they got a calculator where you can go online, and so I'll pull it up right now. You go to inflation calculator, you put in $2 billion. 1, 2, 3. See, I ain't never seen no money like that, so I don't even know how many zeros it is. What's that? 9 zeros? Hey, all right, so $2 billion, according to inflation, is going to be 1, 2, 3. Is going to be anywhere between 60 billion and actually $2 trillion, right? So, yeah. So I mean, we talking about ridiculous money. That was the value on African lives, right? That was the value in African lives. We're not talking about what's that? We're not talking about cotton, sugar, tobacco, none of that. The Africans were what was the highest wealth. And then we talk about the land, right? Well, who did the land come from? Land came from the Mexican indigenous people, right? So that was the wealth. So that's why, shoot, a whole lot of people are oppressed underneath capitalism. That's not the question, right? The question is who's in the position to lead, right? Where the leadership in that struggle is going to come from, and yeah, I mean, shoot, even in the Bolshevik Party, the people that really led the Bolshevik Party came from the edges of the Russian Empire.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It was, these are people that was Jews, people that was Kazakhs, and all sorts of stuff like that. So it wasn't. These are the people who, what's his name was from Georgia, so even in the Revolutionary Party that we know had done some revolutionary stuff, We talking about the people who come from the most oppressed.
And I agree with that. I mean, those who are
Huh?
most capable, those who are most capable of accessing national chauvinism are going to be the least able to reject it. I mean, those are the most
Right.
capable of grabbing a hold of I am better than other people for this reason are going to have the longest road to go towards the idea that we should all live, you know, good. I mean,
Exactly. And then they want to push stuff to the side. Like I said, I mean, you get around some petty bourgeois types when they're talking about gender, even in African and Mexican spaces, and then they always want to push stuff to the side. Well, we got to sideline that for the greater good. Well, that's not African internationalist politics, right? We need to heighten those people, raise those contradictions, raise the women, the sisters up, the gender non-conforming people up. I mean, if you go back to the guidelines for a member of, even before the APSP, I told you there was JOMO. You go back to they got the Burning Spear archive. You can go to the University of Florida Digital Collections website and look at the Burning Spear newspapers going all the way back to 1969. And even when it was the group JOMO, which meant burning spear in Swahili, it was women. The one of the rules was, you don't oppress anybody for because of their sexuality. And now, I mean, the party has one of them has the most advanced position on gender identity and sexuality. And sexual preference and stuff like that. I mean, it's been funneled through African internationalist perspective. So we use the term of like same gender loving and stuff like that. But we understand that sort of a same gender loving tradition goes all the way back to pre-colonial Africa. One of the things I like to tell people is that, like, you got the real petty bourgeois Pan-Africanist types who say, African homosexuality is not native to Africa. Homosexuality is not native to Africa. And then they'll start playing like little word games, because that's the type of stuff they do. They'll say things like, well, show me where it says homosexuality in this Egyptian hieroglyph or something like that. I'm like, it doesn't, but because that's a word that was created like in the last 50, 60 years. But there's hieroglyphs of men kissing each other. Oh no, those guys were Siamese twins. What, connected at the lips? That don't even make no sense. That don't even make no sense. You know what I mean? But so what you actually learned was the hate for non-gender conforming people, the hate for same gender loving people from colonialism, is as opposed to the opposite. Does that mean that things were harmonious? No. But does that thing? But by even the lens of the colonizing forces in Africa, Africa was more progressive on the question of gender and sexuality than colonial Europe or the colonial Middle East.
Well, I really think that this question of misogyny and homophobia, they're horrible. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing to make people feel, it's a terrible thing in the way that the society is organized for, the patriarchal male right, birthright inheritance. It's terrible, but particularly in this era, this COVID era, right? I think this connects back to this conspiratorialism, conspiratorial buffet, because when we see it in the colonized, community, it's almost always goes back to this idea that the government is trying to destroy our nuclear family. The government is always trying to destroy the natural role that men should be playing. The government is trying to attack, the man as the natural leader. You know what I'm saying? Like that's always comes back to that, whether you see it in both black and white. It's not like particular to black. I mean, this is
and the thing is, it's hegemonic. It's hegemonic. Is the thing is that it's hegemonic. So we sometimes even say like, a sister could promote these ideas, right? A white power don't have to ain't just alive because white people support it. There's white people who clearly in opposition to white power. But you got neo-colonial leaders who support it, right? So yeah, I mean, yeah, this is why the solution is we just need to put the black man back in power, or the black man in this. I mean, like that is that is correct. That's correct, because even because I remember when the numbers were showing first that it was killing more men than women. That was the creeping. Like you said, this is a way to just like get black men out the household or something like that. I mean, it's sort of, I don't know. It's like the point of analysis is wrong. Some of the stuff is true, but that's the problem with all the conspiracy theories. It's like it's like yes, industrialization made a collapse in the black family, right? But but it's not but Umar Johnson will tell you, okay, see, that's why we gotta, smash on women's rights. At the moment that the black woman wanted to be independent and wanted to be like the white woman, that's when the black family fell apart. It's like go watch what's that thing? The Bastards of the Party. Mike Davis and Bastards of the Party says that we could pinpoint the exact moment through which black family dynamics begin to differ. Because coming out of slavery, we know that the number one thing Africans was already doing was family reunification. You have people arguing that they deserve more than one wife because of the fact that like they had been married to multiple people on different slave plantations, and it was by no means of their own and stuff like that. So they wanted to hold all their family together. So they wanted to hold all of their family together. So we know black people value family. I mean, that's we value family so much you don't have to be blood relative to be family. Oh, this is my cousin, this my cousin, and this my play sister, this my play auntie, all this other stuff. And then people are like, well, how actually is that person your cousin? Well, I'm like, well, actually, he's the cousin of my cousin's cousin. But we went to church together and we ate, and we always spent our time together and stuff like that. So that's our politics.
We're approaching an hour 40, so we should probably wrap it up. But
wrap it up, B.
Wrap it up. We do have a question here though, so let's look at the question.
Yeah. So exactly, Marquise. So shout out to my cousin of my cousin. I'll be talking about you when I say that, Marquise. Is because me and Marquise, I mean, we might as well be brothers. And people will see us, they'll be like, yeah, you met Marquise before, Matt, up there at the Harry Tubman Center. No, not at the Harry Tubman Center. At the conference last spring. But yeah, my cousin Marquise will be, people be like, y'all even look alike. Y'all even look alike. I mean, I know what you mean when we say we look alike. I'm like, well, actually, he's my cousin's cousin, but he's my cousin. Exactly. It don't even cross our mind that we're not blood. Like, because that is the whole sanguinal relationship. That's colonial. That's about who gonna get this property. Like who gonna get this dowry. All this other colonial nonsense. It's not about sort of building family and political connections. So the question, are you going to the question about internationalism?
This question right here is, you see another one? I say this one here, in the realm of difference of identity, which takes precedence in the speaker. Okay, where's the African internationalism question? Oh, by Daniel. Daniel, shout out to Daniel, because Daniel has been posting all the links as we've been talking.
Yeah. Shout out to Daniel. You're a real comrade.
Where do they fit in within Pan-Africanism International? So he's naming a lot of these well-known.
Right, so I mean, there's people that we hold up in the trajectory of African internationalism. We know that the theory of African internationalism was shaped through the struggle and the growth of the African People's Socialist Party. However, we lift up the Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Malcolm X. We hold up Dr. King and Dr. King's legacy because of the struggle and the willing to liberate his people, but also because of Dr. King, critical to African internationalism, this idea of criticism and self-criticism, right? Growth through sort of like dialectical materialist struggle, and that's what Dr. King really represents. We know he caught the slug because he sort of came out against the Vietnam War, because Dr. King was a he began to present African internationalist analysis. He said that he feared that he had led his people towards integrating a burning house. So Dr. King, we hold up Dr. King. I don't, I wouldn't necessarily, but we hold up his legacy. Du Bois is a lot more problematic because of the work that his Pan-African Congress did, really to undercut Garvey, to the extent of siding with the United States government and stuff like that, and things like that. So I mean, I wouldn't put him in the tradition of African internationalism. But I mean, if you're in academia, you're going to read Du Bois and Du Bois's work and stuff like that. But yeah, the first and foremost, and also Du Bois basically helped produce this like a black belt South thesis. And what separates African internationalism from another thing like New Africanism is New Africanism. It's based on a theory that Africans in the U.S. developed to a different nation of people, and therefore our native homeland or whatever is 5 states in the American Southeast or something like that, and that's where we need to be looking at. But I mean, that's the Southeastern nations. That's indigenous land. So we hold clearly. We hold clearly to sort of the international solidarity with indigenous people here within the United States and North America and the Americas. So I mean, the idea that like their homeland should be given to us, that's settler colonial. In the 1980s, I've seen people in the movement refer to it as New Zionism or Neo-Zionism, right? So it's Neo-Zionist to suggest that. And then what? So we're going to relinquish Africa and the liberation of Africa to imperialist powers or something like that, or to think because we were enslaved, we're different than people in Africa. That's not our position. And that's the New Africanist position. It's very popular, and it's got multiple manifestations of it nowadays. But we don't subscribe to New Africanism. We don't refer to Black people as New Africans. We refer to all Black people as African people, and Africa is our homeland. But we believe in the liberation, the tearing down of colonial borders, and then eventually, once you tear down those colonial borders, you tear down all colonial borders. So, sort of at the end of the way, it's embracing of African nationalist identity, African internationalism is going to be the step towards liberating all people. So that's what we look back towards. Are we at the shameless plug part?
We're at the shameless plugs. Let's let people know what they need to follow up and.
All right, so first and foremost, I know we sort of veered away, but the reason we're here in our home talking to each other right now is because of this COVID-19 crisis. It's important to note that the horror movement declares it that the coronavirus is a colonial virus. We've waged what's called the People's War against COVID-19. If you go to theburningspear.com, you can get a lot of articles that we're writing about it, but also go to developmentforafrica.org. Developmentforafrica.org. That is the website for the All African People's All African People's Development and Empowerment Project. And they are the head of a coalition of African first responders that we're assembling. It's an emergency aid organization called the Black Ankh. So support the Black Ankh, not the Red Cross. If you have a skill, if you are African or an indigenous colonized person, what I would ask for you all to do is to go and join the Black Ankh and give your African or indigenous colonized person. You work in healthcare, so you're talking about any form of wellness, even mental wellness. Go and join Project Black Ankh. Give your skills back towards us as we fight this war, because we know that the government does not have our best interests in mind. Go to what's called the Burning Spear Marketplace.com. I think it's just Burning Spear Marketplace, not the Burning Spear Marketplace. Burning.
Okay.
Yeah, so go to burningspiritmarketplace.com, click on the books, get some recent books, Vanguard, The Advanced Attachment of the African Revolution, An Uneasy Equilibrium, The African Revolution versus Parasitic Capitalism, by Chairman Omali Shatella. Subscribe to the paper for $12 a year. You get a year's subscription mailed directly to your house. You could become a sustainer. You could become a distributor of the paper as well if you have a store or storefront. And at the very least, read the articles and share the articles.
Okay.
Cool.
Excellent.
Right, cool. Thank you, man. Thank you. Like I said, I could talk all day long. So,
well, thanks for having me, or thanks for coming on, and we'll do this again.
Oh, cool. Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right. Over.